I like to start off just doing a quick level check that I stole from Tim Ferriss. What did you eat for breakfast?
What did I eat for breakfast? Porridge today. It was porridge.
You are listening to the Music on Your Own Terms podcast. Business, encouragement, constant improvement, analysis, digital distribution, musicians, recording, recommendation, promotion, entrepreneurship, live shows, music, touring, streaming, hustling, overcoming self-ownership, band, anxiety, accomplishment, dealing with depression. All right, so you ready to start?
Yeah, I reckon so. Let's go for it.
Thank you for joining the Music on Your Own Terms podcast. Today I'm joined by James Dand, a self-empowerment songwriter. So thank you for taking the time to join me today. So if you wouldn't mind just giving a bit of a background on what you do and, how you got into music.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for having me on, Simon. I'm very excited to share my story. So I've always been a lover of music, and years ago, over a decade ago, I was in a band, and we had a little bit of success. We had a minor records deal that we could have taken, and then the band broke up, and at the time it was like, right, the dream is over, and I dabbled with a little bit of stuff myself, but then life took over, and I wasn't doing that much with music. I got myself a home studio, but I wasn't really doing that much. And then I just started to feel more and more unfulfilled within my normal job. So I decided that I really needed to get back into music, in particular songwriting, because for the band I'd always been the songwriter and I enjoyed that creative process. So I started to get back into songwriting, and originally I was looking to go through the main music business, but then I started to be more and more pulled, I suppose, towards creating my own business, and also writing songs that meant something to me and the people that I would write them for. And that subject was what I call empowerment, where the songs are really about helping people overcome their fears and their limiting beliefs. So it's kind of lyrics with a positive emphasis, if you like, to empower, motivate and inspire people. And that's what I'm now doing.
Cool. Excellent. But how did you get into music in the first place?
Well, I do remember a story of my dad introducing me, and again, I'd always loved music. I was first of all interested in, I think my earliest memories were 50s rock and roll. I sort of liked that, and then I went more into the 60s style, and I used to like lots of different music, but I remember my dad introducing me to The Who once. He played The Who's album My Generation when I was a lot younger, when I was just a child, and the story is that I was there in the hall in front of the big mirror with my tennis racket, pretending that was a guitar, and pretending I was Pete Townsend of The Who. So really I was really interested in that, but at school I never really got the opportunity to sort of pursue music, and it was sort of, I suppose, after school. I suppose my dad taught me to play guitar, and then it was after school I just got into it a little bit more, and eventually formed a band, and that was really the start of it.
Excellent. Obviously there's a lot of stories about playing air guitar with your tennis racket. I probably did that more than I care to admit. So that's great. What does music itself mean to you, to be able to play it and put it out there? Yeah,
it's a great question. Music for me means a few things. There's, first of all, the sheer enjoyment, the passion, the joy. For example, if you're at a live gig, whether it's on stage or just watching a great band, you're just so much in the present moment, and you never want that to end. So it's a kind of an escapism, if you like, from the real world and the challenges of the real world. So there's that side of music to me. There's then the creative side for me, particularly being a songwriter. I find music is a way of self-expression, so I can express through music my pains, my pleasures in life, whatever it is. I can write whatever I want, and I can use the lyrics and the tune and the style as a way of expressing myself. And I've recently been working a lot on my mindset over the last couple of years, so I'm certainly a lot better than I was. But I was someone that suffered maybe from low self-esteem. I'm naturally an introvert, so again, music was a way of me sort of saying what I wanted to say and get my message out, if you like. So there's that side of things. And I suppose the other thing for me is I also use music to control my emotions. So if I'm looking to focus on something, if I've got a lot of work to do on my tablet, I'll put some classical music on because that helps my concentration, that helps my focus. Anything with vocals doesn't really work for me because I find myself singing along. So, but then if I want to, maybe I'm doing an important call or I've got an important meeting or something like that, I want to psych myself up. So I used music to get myself motivated, and it really helps me with my confidence. I just use music to really get the energy going in my body. And there's, of course, the times where you feel down, you feel a little bit low, and you put certain types of music on to lift you up and raise your vibration as well. So, I use music a lot in my life for lots of different things.
Yeah, I've definitely used music a lot to get over some, darker times, possibly grief. There's definitely been times where I've just had to put on something that I connect with to kind of not so much control, but to help me with the process of grief. So yeah, it's a powerful thing.
It is powerful,
sure.
Definitely.
So let's move on to the project you're working on right now, which I'm fortunate to be a part of and contributing some tracks on it as well. Or some instruments, let's say. So tell us a bit about that, please.
Yes, so the project is basically, I got this idea earlier on this year, and I knew that I, again, wanted to get my music out to the world. And I really class myself as a songwriter. I can play different instruments. I can sing to a certain level, but I wouldn't class myself as an excellent singer. So I really wanted to do, and same with production and mixing and mastering, I can do it to a certain level, but my real passion was the songwriting. So what I decided to do was, I thought, well, there's going to be people out there who are musicians that want to contribute. There's going to be people out there who are singers who would do my songs justice. So I came up with the idea of creating this project where I would work with various people, and it's turned out we've got over 20 people from different countries. So I've got some people from where I'm based in the UK, got some people from Europe, a couple of people from the US, and we're all coming together to create what will actually be a triple album. And originally it probably wasn't going to be that big, it was probably going to be a single album or at the most a double album, but then I just kind of kept writing songs and it turned into this triple album. And it's a themed album, so it's called Empowerment Songs, and it's literally that. Each song is obviously slightly different. There's different genres, there's a range of genres, in fact, and obviously different, focus of each song, but it's all about empowering people, again, to overcome their fears and get out there and achieve what they want to achieve. And that will be available pretty soon.
So, I mean, what's your goal with that project? In broad terms, and then I'd say after that, in terms of the business part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the initial thing was, what I was looking for was to get as many wins as possible, because if there's one thing that I've learnt over the last year or so is that if you're trying to work on your own, it can be a lot more difficult. So again, I saw the collaboration as something where I can work with other people and every person out of it is getting some wins. It could be some more exposure for their business. It could be, just the fact just the fact of getting to record and make a recording, whatever it is. So I'm looking for wins, both for myself and both for contributors. Everyone involved will get money based upon sales, and then the people, the customers that are looking to buy that, well, A, they might just buy it because they enjoy good music, or B, they're looking again to get something out of it in terms of, as we've both said, Simon, about the power of music in raising our energy and making us feel better. So really, I want the album to be seen as something that's actually helping people with mental health problems, entrepreneurs that just want to feel positive, and if they're feeling a little bit down, they're going through some challenges, they want to put some positive music on to help get them through that, and anyone who's interested and part of personal development as well. So they're the kind of aims of looking to help people. Does that sort of answer your question so far?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great kind of mission. How would you say that your goals are for bringing that vision to light in a business sense? What are your methods that you're going to be using to promote it?
Yeah, the business side of things is really important, and obviously that's what you're helping people with, Simon, isn't it? Because you could be the most talented person out there, but if you haven't got a business sense, ultimately you're probably not going to do as well as you could do. So for me, just again, like I say, collaborating with people means automatically there's more reach. So what I'm looking to do is, again, work with those people involved, and that could be things like doing joint Facebook Lives to increase exposure about the album. It could be to do podcasts such as this. So you've got all the different methods of PR, targeting the media, social media, all of those sort of things. And the other thing I will just mention as well that's specific to my album is that we've got an extra bonus disc and a big launch event as well, which will raise money for charity. So that's another win, but also it's another way of raising profile and getting people interested as well, because again, we can get some media attention with that as well. So I think to think like an entrepreneur, you've got to think of all the different ways in which you can maximize, the sales, get the message out there. And again, what I'm doing is I'm leveraging it, because by myself, again, I might reach a certain number of people, but by having all these other people contributing who are also gaining benefits, it benefits me and it benefits the album sales, because I'm getting leverage. I'm getting leverage in other countries. I'm getting people promoting the album for me, instead of if I was just to create this album as a solo artist myself. So that's really the way I'm looking to do it, to get the word out there through social media, and just get a big buzz going with it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's the great thing about leverage. You have to kind of visualize the picture of a lever, and actually, that's what it is. You're using other people's, reach as your pivot point, and then your small contributor, well, hopefully big, but your side of it is a small comparatively, and then the other side of it is, it gives you a much further swing. So
definitely,
I probably didn't do that description justice, but yeah, the word leverage is a really good way of thinking about how you can reach other people. It shows the importance of networking. Definitely.
Networking has been big for me recently. In actual fact, I sort of found, because I mentioned things like social media. Social media is one way, but if you're just kind of sitting at home in front of a computer or on your tablet, your phone, you're maybe limiting yourself a little bit. But to actually go out there and network in person, meeting people, I've recently, over the last few weeks, I've been doing that a lot, and there's been so many opportunities and potential future collaborations because of that. So, again, think like an entrepreneur. If you're a musician out there who's always just in your home writing music or playing guitar or something like that, that's one element of it. But you've got to think like an entrepreneur. You've got to get out there and speak to people, have conversations, and just, start to brainstorm ideas.
Absolutely. And that's indicative of how we met.
It is.
You met my high school friend, Alan, who's actually coming up on the podcast after you.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and just tell us a quick story about that because it kind of connects the episodes together, I
It
think.
does, yeah, that's perfect. That's great. So, yeah, I went on a course actually. So, Alan was assisting with that course, and we just got talking. And, I spoke to him a little bit, and we friended each other on Facebook. So, that was the first thing. And then I saw a post about your business, Simon, through Alan, and I thought, oh, that seemed interesting. Simon's looking to help people with their music business as entrepreneurs. So I just contacted you, Simon, and said, that sounds really interesting. Would you like to have a chat? We got on a call, had a chat, and the rest is history. And that's the thing about it as well. Sometimes the first initial chat. So you've got to have the have the mindset of just being able to have a chat with someone and, not know that there will definitely be anything there, but you've got to ensure that you actually do that. Just have those conversations. And we didn't know at that time, I certainly wasn't planning this project. We didn't know quite what would happen from it or anything like that. But we had an initial conversation. And, from then, obviously, we built up a bit of a relationship and we're now working together. So, yeah, that's the way it works.
And this podcast wasn't even a thought at that time. That was more, just putting myself out there to try and help people. But it speaks of, making sure that you don't have huge expectations going into things like, oh, how does this person going to help me? Just work on networking and see what you can do for other people, see what your knowledge helps others. And eventually it may come back to help you out. But just go in, the world's a massive place, and, you just want to make as many connections as possible because down the line you never know if it will be, like you said, a win-win for everybody.
That's it.
That's really the ultimate goal, not being selfish and saying, what can you do for me, but how can we help each other?
That is really important. Again, yeah, you've got to know that you're valuable yourself, that you can help other people, because yes, you're looking for other people to help you, but you've got to be able to help other people as well. And that's when, there's got to be some rapport there. There's got to be some trust, some integrity there when you're working with other people. But I think the other thing with that is, again, I touched on it earlier, it's ensuring that, again, maybe you play to your strengths, you work with your gifts, and there'll be other. See, I see everyone as a piece of the puzzle. You're not the whole puzzle yourself. You're a piece of the puzzle. So, Simon, you could be a corner piece, for example. I could be a side piece. Let's say Alan, for example, he could be a piece in the middle, and each of us help complement the other pieces around us. Okay, so we all have a different role to play, and as long as we get in the right piece of that puzzle, as long as we're putting ourselves into the right part of that puzzle, then all the other people around us are going to benefit from that, and we're going to eventually get a complete puzzle. So I suppose it's finding out, what are your strengths, what are your gifts, what's your piece of the puzzle, and then looking for those other people around you that complement that. They're slightly different, they're going to complement you. They have slightly different strengths, slightly different weaknesses as well, and they're going to complement you in some way. And together, you create the full jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's move on a little bit. Maybe talk about the other things you do. You're a mindset coach. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, so I do mindset training. Basically, again, what I sort of found was a few years ago, I was feeling quite unfulfilled in my job, and I knew that I wanted to make a change, but I really didn't realise at that time how my own fears had been holding me back. And I think, there's probably a lot of listeners out there can relate to that as well, where maybe they're fearing rejection, they're fearing failure, they want to go and pursue something that they enjoy, but they've got all those fears and all those limiting beliefs, and that was really holding me back. So I got into the world of personal development. And for me, I've really never looked back. It's really enhanced me. So I'm now helping other people through that process themselves. I now feel a lot more confident. I have a lot more belief in myself. Again, I just know that I've got some value because, when I was younger, my parents, I mean, they parented me really well, but, you know, they would have said things like, you know, make sure you're not boasting, make sure you're not bragging, etc. So in a way, I sort of grew up to sort of think, oh, you know, that's bad in a way. Well, I'm not saying that you want to go out and boast and brag in front of people, but you've got to know, again, that you are good enough. You have certain talents, you have certain gifts, and you've got to be proud of those. You know, you've got to ensure, you know, feel worthy and deserving of good things. So I've been through that process myself, and I now help other people through that process in the forms of workshops and coaching and things like that.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think, I mean, I can't speak for other cultures, but I do think that the British culture is kind of to be reserved, and I mean, in some ways, there's a lot of negativity, and the personal development community doesn't. For a lot of people, doesn't really resonate because it's like Tony Robbins is one of the biggest ones out there, and I think I've heard from a lot of British people, oh, it's too overbearing, and you know, it's too American, but when you really listen to the message there, it's you think, wow, now you have to kind of get over your cultural conditioning in order to think in broader terms and have a much open mind. But I'm sure that's true of any culture in the world. They all have their own idiosyncrasies that they have to get over to be able to promote themselves and and really make a difference in their own life. So yeah, that's
definitely
great.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. But you know, something I'd just like to point out there. You know, what you said is absolutely true, but it's a little bit like listening to some heavy metal music and saying, "Oh, music's too loud." You know, well, listen to something else then if you don't like heavy metal music. So it's the same with personal development. Okay, if you don't like Tony Robbins' style, there's lots of other people out there that you can listen to and get into. So you know, I'm sure if you keep looking, you will find the right person out there that you resonate with, because that's important, finding someone that you resonate with.
I mean I think the first step is actually knowing that you want to change, whatever, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing in that, oh, I want to change this because it's bad. It can be just, I want to improve, I want to be better than I am. And I think that's really key, is, being better than yesterday.
Definitely. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you've got anything bad happening in your life, but you just want to be aware of yourself. So, you know, we all have a little voice in our heads that tells us, oh, don't do that, because this might happen. And, most of those things that we think might happen never actually happen. So as long as you're aware of that little voice, then you've got the choice of whether you want to listen to that little voice that's telling you not to go ahead and do things, or you actually want to, say, yeah, thank you very much. I accept that, there's that point of view, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do it anyway. So it's having that awareness, because most people are running on autopilot. They're just doing things automatically, like where you drive home and then you sort of think, how did I get here? I don't remember driving home.
Yep.
Most people are living their life like that. So awareness is the first stage.
So what does being an entrepreneur mean to you, and how can that mindset help musicians?
Great question. So, like I say, originally I was thinking about just going into the music industry. So, I decided to cut down my hours at work, and I wanted to be a songwriter, and I wanted to write number ones and, live off the royalties and all that. And of course, some people do that. Some people, that happens too. And then, of course, you've got all the X Factor and the music shows, there's that side of things. But the other side of things is, creating a business around it, having that entrepreneurial mindset. And for me, that is about being aware of how to get your music out there, and being aware of things like marketing and the sales process, and just having an understanding of business, really. I don't know whether I'm fully answering the question, really, but I found it really is important, because I went out there and I said, right, I'm going to start to make something happen, and I just didn't know what to do. So I've since learnt about marketing, learnt about sales, learnt about social media. All of those things are really important, because, as I said before, you can be the greatest talent in the world, but unfortunately you're going to take it to your grave if you don't know how to market yourself and get yourself out there.
Right, absolutely. I just like the thought process that you often hear musicians say you can't make money anymore because of streaming or because of this or that. And I just think, well, instead of thinking you can't, why not spin that around and said, how can
Yes.
I? And just go out and find. I think that's what an entrepreneur is. It's basically going out and fixing problems instead of complaining that you have a problem in the first place. The answers are going to be there. You just have to find multiple ways of fixing them.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. So, there's two things we can be sure of in our life at the minute, anyway, unless the technology catches up with that. The first one is that we're going to die, and the second one is that there will always be change. And again, a successful entrepreneur is someone who is prepared for that change. You've got to keep going with times. Over the last few years, the world has changed so much in terms of technology, so you've got to be up with that change. And if you keep up with that change, then you can be very successful as a musician and in various industries out there. But if you're someone that's just based upon the traditional way of doing things, unfortunately, you're unlikely to be successful.
Well, great. Well, this was a fantastic conversation. Can you tell everyone how you can first find the project? Where does that live?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a website, and it is www.empowermentsongzone.com. So that's www.empowermentsongzone.com, and you can download a demo, because the album's not available at the minute, but you can download a demo, and there's going to be lots of extra bonuses as well. So now's the time to actually download that demo, and then we can inform you when the album's available, and there'll be hundreds of pounds worth or dollars worth of bonuses as well. But yeah, apart from that, you can find me on Facebook, James Dand, or so yeah, I'm always open to connecting with people as we've discussed.
Great. Is there? We've mentioned there's no actual music out there just yet because it's still being worked on. Is there a particular indie artist you like to play in the podcast? I like to play music at the end of the podcast. Maybe one of the contributors have something that you want to share. Or...
I could play one of my demos if you like. So yeah, we can do that. If not, yeah, I'll have to have a think actually. But, yeah, you can play one of my demos.
Very good. Well, I'll announce it at the end after the podcast ends. So great.
Brilliant.
Well, thanks for taking the time. It was great. Wish you well with the project. I'm excited myself to be part of it. So it's shaping up to be really cool.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much, Simon. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Don't forget to visit musiconyourownterms.com for the show notes on this episode and also to sign up for the mailing list. Also visit facebook.com/Music on Your Own Terms for the latest information on episodes and past guests. Thanks to James for joining me for this episode. Remember, be excellent to each other and keep sharpening the saw. This is James's demo called Inside Me.